And now, my beloved, I greet you once again out of the spirit of liberty, whose handmaid I am. I welcome you to the heart of a cosmic virgin's love of liberty. I greet you as I have greeted all pilgrims who have made their way to a land of higher consciousness and have demonstrated a willingness to leave behind the old world and to enter into the new. For this indeed is the requirement for the passing of the initiation of the Goddess of Liberty. In the name of that lamp which I bear, be seated in my flame. I consider it a privilege to stand at this altar and in this company of bearers of the light. For it is not often that we may come to a place so filled with violet flame, instead of the smoke-filled rooms and smoke screens of the human consciousness, where we must first penetrate with our legions of angels to clear a passageway to even touch the hearts of the most dedicated among earth's evolutions. Therefore I come to a place prepared that does take on the very aura of the etheric plane, because you have given the dynamic decrees continually, year upon year, to provide a cradle of liberty and a new hope for a new age of light bearers. You have heard it said that those who approach the shores of America receive the initiation of my heart. This initiation of the threefold flame may not be experienced physically by the soul unless the soul has received the understanding of the law and has demonstrated a willingness to comply. The leaving behind of the old world, of the human consciousness, of one's own ancient karma and ancient past and ancient enmity with others is that requirement. And therefore, though the Christ, as the representative of the cosmic Christ, will overshadow each and every one who does come to these shores, be it known that only those who aspire to the higher light receive it, or its options for the multiplication of greater light. This explains how some laggard evolutions who have come here have continued to multiply their laggard consciousness, while others have moved onward and higher into a new image of the Christ that I hold for the entire race that yet waits behind them in line from their own home country. Nevertheless, the blessing of this land, so consecrated by Saint Germain, does impart, by the very aura of the people, a new start, a new mind, and a new heart for many. Thus, with the greatest of light bearers unto the least, a nation is formed, a nation is born, and we are here to see to it that the fragmentation and separation does not occur, but that all in whom there burns a threefold flame, who are sent here by Almighty God and the hosts of the Lord, might find one another, might live together in peace, and might hold the banner of light and call that light into manifestation for the challenge of those who are the destroyers of the land and of the people, the dividers and the conquerors, who will not leave well enough alone, but must also disturb the habitation of the Most High God and the activities of the Great White Brotherhood. They are not content to spoil their own doorstep or to soil their own habitation. They must spread their own dirt and their own gossip and their own treachery and intrigue to invade the household of every light bearer. And therefore this is accomplished through the media, through television, through radio, through newspapers, and through the motion picture industry. And thus you see the waves of other life streams that have come forth upon the planet do cause a considerable disturbance in the peaceful aura that is intended to prevail in this nation. It has been the assignment of the two witnesses for the duration of their service on this planet to hold the balance against the darkness of the laggard evolutions, especially the fallen ones and the titans who are referred to in the book of Revelation as the captains, the kings, and the giants among men. These fallen ones, blessed ones, have intruded themselves upon a way of life on earth and attempted to sway the entire culture of the mother. Thus, it has been necessary for thousands of years for the messengers of God and the avatars who have come to hold the balance against these forces, that the children of light might rise up and take their dominion. By and by, as it was intended, when the children of the light come of age and accept their joint heirship with the living word, there comes the opportunity then to step into the office of the lady with the lamp, of the mother of the world, and of the two witnesses who witness unto the truth of the great golden age and of the laws of God. Thus I recount for you that during this specific dispensation of these several decades of the messenger's service, they have borne an extraordinary burden of the laggard weight and the laggard consciousness, specifically that centering around the Middle East, which is the fountainhead of the mother flame on this planet. Understand then that even in 1973, the ascension of your own beloved Mark had to do with the holding of the balance of world forces, and thus the entire life and mission of the messengers has been to hold this balance. We of the members of the Karmic Board, in consultation with cosmic councils, have held to our original position that above and beyond all other services that could be performed by the messengers in a more expanded teaching and preaching of the word, this one service of holding the planetary balance of light against planetary darkness is preeminent and utmost. Therefore understand that all of the teaching and the dictations, the lectures that have gone before, all that could possibly be done by their two life streams has been and remains secondary to the holding of the balance. For the holding of the balance is the preserving of the planetary platform for the light bearers to be born, to mature, to be educated, and to rise into their lawful position. I come to you then, this 4th of July Freedom Celebration, with an announcement of considerable import to the cosmic hierarchy, to the Karmic Board, to the evolutions of light on this planet, and to yourselves. As we have reviewed the life streams of the Chelas of the will of God, and all who serve in this mandala of light, those of you who have understood this mission from inner levels far more than you have understood it at outer levels. For that inner understanding, and only that inner understanding, could give you the compelling love, the devotion, and the staying power to endure in the office of staff and of Chela and of members of our various focuses who maintain an extraordinary light. Therefore, in our examination of your life streams, we have considered with an extraordinary consideration that some among you, and a considerable number, have arrived at the point in your own dedication, constancy, and self-discipline, especially in the giving of dynamic decrees, as to be able to hold a more than ordinary balance against these laggards and their generation of darkness. With the final judgment of Satan, The departure some years ago of Lucifer and the waning of their seed, it is therefore also the opportune hour for others to step in line to share the mantle of the two witnesses as they hold this balance in the plane of spirit and matter, specifically in the area of the Middle East. We invite, therefore, your inner as well as outer confirmation of your desire to hold this weight, that you might realize in this offer that in so doing you would afford the hierarchy and their instrument on earth a blessed opportunity of a more expanded service of the preaching, the writing, the publishing, and the teaching of the word, which is so necessary to counterbalance world weight, for the bringing in of souls, after all, is the means of the expansion of light. Thus, beloved hearts, this dispensation gives to you the opportunity to bear a certain burden of laggard karma, in order that the karma of the laggards and their evolution might also be brought to a swifter judgment. To that end, in answer to an old plea for a dispensation of intercession of the cosmic Christs, you who would bear this burden would have in your world the assistance of a single cosmic Christ at inner levels, an ascended master who would assist you in holding that balance and hold the line of your own attainment to see to it that none should be lost, the light should be not lost, and the individual's current level of attainment be not compromised by taking on this burden. Therefore, we anticipate, by a shifting of a certain weight from the messenger in embodiment to those individuals who can bear it, a new dispensation and a new era of opportunity for the speaking of the word and the making complete of the statement of our teaching for many who will come in future generations and centuries, who will never have had the opportunity of standing face to face with the messengers or receiving their original teaching and dispensation. We are concerned that the divine plan move on and that the transition of worlds that is ongoing provide a continuity of purpose that may never be compromised. We are concerned that only so much could be held. The holding of the balance of the Middle East and other areas of the world has resulted in a certain staying action. But for a more complete victory and a final resolution of these conditions, more Christed ones in embodiment with courageous hearts will have to come to the messengers and say, I will hold the flame. I will expand my heart to make room for the cosmic Christ. I will hold the torch of Mother Liberty. I will accept this opportunity, and I will stand with you in holding the balance of world karma, especially those conditions of laggard races, until God, in his great opportunity, may dispense and dispose of that situation which cannot continue and cannot endure, ere a golden age, as promised, descend. Thus, beloved hearts, it is with great rejoicing that we may place our hand upon the heart and the head of certain chelas who have not let down their guard, who have continued to serve with joy and constancy and a consistency of vibration that has not been moved in the face of any form of opposition, the lie of the liar, or the murderous intent of the fallen ones, not of gossip, not of malicious plotting against the activity or the messenger, or not of their own karma coming for transmutation, or world conditions, or persecution that has come upon them personally. As I list all of these possible and even probable causes for the letting down of the guard of keepers of the flame, I know that you may know in your heart that you have been tested in all of these points, that you might not be found wanting, so that we might find the strength and the mettle, so that you might be weighed in the balance, and therefore a determination made. This inner commitment is made before the karmic board this day with your own Christ self and with your ascended or unascended twin flame. The preparation for this action has gone on for many weeks in preparation for our mid-year summer solstice conclave at the Royal Teton Retreat, which we celebrate each summer in order to renew the dispensations and move onward in the second half of the year. Therefore, those who are a part of this dispensation already are aware of it at inner levels and are now apprised at outer levels by the anchoring of the inner experience in the Royal Teton Retreat to your outer consciousness, so that you may feel the descent of the flame and know that you have been a part of this inner commitment. Be not surprised that some who are able to bear a portion of this burden are young in years, though their souls are advancing. And some who have taken pity upon this burden of the messengers have seen with an inner sight how much more could be done for the planet if this one factor, this preeminent factor in her life, could in some way be lifted or lightened or mitigated. We have had the same seeing and the same desiring in our hearts, and we could only place over you our 7 electronic presence of light, our mighty causal bodies, and a communication from our hearts and from inner levels as to what is the need of the hour, desiring and hoping and praying that you, in seeing that need, would also feel the fervor of your hearts to supply it in love. And therefore, just in the hour when the burden is so great as to be almost overcoming, there are those who are ready. There are those who are ready to receive a certain passing of this mantle and of this torch. Therefore, beloved hearts, with the profound gratitude of both messengers and of the children and of all who support this mission and of the hearts of the chelas who participate, we also add our gratitude, and we say that by this extension there is even the life extension of the messenger, for surely the days of each and every living soul are numbered by the weight of karma that is born, whether it is personal or whether it is planetary. And above all, I can assure you that this steadfastness to holy purpose on the part of the messenger, knowing full well that holding of the balance of the planet is the sole and certain cause for being, has led her to not let down, to not give up, to not turn aside, but to remember that to withdraw or to slacken or to lessen the holding of this burden would mean certain calamity to many life streams, especially the innocent, especially the holy ones, who themselves could not bear it until they should come of age. I am sure that you realize that the holding of this balance could only be to that point where the messenger could sustain life in embodiment, and therefore where there has been war and loss of life and others bearing the burden, and death itself has come more as a reality than an illusion to many homes. It has been because we have chosen to preserve her life and allow others to pay a certain karmic accountability for debts they owed to life in many past centuries. You must realize how precious is the life of the soul and each tiny bird held in the hand, and not a single life stream upon this planet, no matter what their evolution, no matter what their level of karma, is not without the consideration of the lords of karma. Our opportunity is given again and again and again, even to those individuals who have sinned against Almighty God for eons. That opportunity is given for them to turn and to repent in the face of the great light of salvation, of honor, of victory, of the Christed ones in their midst. Some of these fallen ones, as you know, have been given the opportunity to give birth to Christed ones, that upon looking into their eyes and seeing these souls, they might melt out of love for that which God has placed in the cradle of their own heart and home. And yet even in the face of the incarnate Word in their midst, They have refused to bend the knee, and they have hated their own children without a cause, and cast them down, and turned them away. And therefore, these very light-bearers, having been treated with utter contempt by their own families, have started upon a course, traversing this nation, and traveling to India to find the love of father and of mother in the person of teacher, in the person of community and friends of light. Is it any wonder, then, that the light-bearers have found their nests in these various places of worship of the one God and dedication to love? Is it any wonder that their parents are angry, for the light has gone out of their life? It is as though Krishna himself is the Pied Piper who plays his magic flute, and the light-bearers follow, and the nations are angry, for the light is gone out of their home and their town, and they cannot find or capture or persecute that one who is the cosmic Christ, who over hill and dale goes in and out of the physical octave into the etheric plane, and finally draws the children of the light into the heart of the holy mountain, where they are safe and secure from this unmitigated hatred, even of the ones who should extol their light. Blessed hearts, be certain that there is a flaming presence of cosmic justice pulsating through the very pores of the earth, through the grasses and the trees and the flowers, through the people themselves, that cosmic justice is on the move. This is most evident when you see individuals and nations act in an unjust manner. The more you see injustice, the more you must recognize that it is only the light of cosmic justice which could specifically flush out all injustice. Whatever manifestation of anti-God is prevalent, you must know that from deep within the heart of the earth, in the sun of even pressure, through the very wellspring of life, through the mighty rivers of life that flow upon the planet, God has chosen to release a certain action of the crystal clear stream of water from the great causal body of the cosmic virgin, and as it flows, it flushes out the darkness. That darkness appears only that you may challenge it, only that the life waves of earth may choose once and for all to put it into the sacred fire, and then receive the purified stream oncoming, where they may know only cosmic justice, because all else has gone into the flame. You must chart the course, then, of the evolution of life waves and karmic patterns and political events, so that you understand and can read beyond the effect what is the cause. What is the mighty cause of light and the tide oncoming that brings to your attention that the earth body can only be healed if this disease that has come to the surface is taken away and is cured, and therefore the antidote for that disease must be the manifestation of that same quality. As you invoke and sustain the flame of cosmic justice in your aura, as beloved Portia focuses that flame, you have the as above, so below, and in the midst is sandwiched that injustice, and therefore it burns from beneath, it burns from above, and there is an all-consuming action as the mighty figure-8 flow draws into the nexus that is the point of transmutation, all that is anti-light. God is a spirit, and he holds the positive polarity through the ascended masters. God is Omega, mother in manifestation, holding the negative polarity of the same flame in the chelas upon the planetary body. Therefore, within, without, above, below, you see the light does flow, and it does have the all-consuming scrubbing action, crystal purifying action of the light, and the sacred fire will move, and you will be astounded to see how swiftly there goes into the living pool, the living fountain of light, all that is darkness, all that has held back the planetary body for centuries. You must understand that it is an hour and a moment of momentous transmutation and a reaching of a point of attainment by you yourselves. Some of you are coming into a new era and dispensation of your own chelaship and your discipleship, and therefore you must see to it that you are one-pointed and that you do not compromise, therefore, this acceleration, for it means more to us than outer success or any endeavor. The keeping of the flame of this activity here and at the inner retreat is the most important cause to which you could dedicate your life. You must rethink the application of your light and of the light that flows through you, for I tell you the balance is delicate, and the more you hold the burden and the more you hold the light itself, you will realize that great planetary changes must come about in order for the sustainment of a way of life and a safe transition for some into the golden age. For all will not pass into that age, but some will. And therefore it is of utmost importance when planning your life, when taking your steps, that you consider just how important you are individually to the very life and mission of the two witnesses. For it is because of the body of light bearers and the flame flowers that you hold that there can be sustained this mighty force field of light, this outpouring of the word, the expose and the judgment, for it must come by the authority of the one who wears our mantle. And therefore you see that all of the exposés that could ever occur through the media do not bring the focalization to the conquering light until and unless the incarnate word does send forth that light and mandate of Sanat Kumara, and that very word itself does crystallize in the very cells and atoms of your four lower bodies its own mandate of victory and freedom and consummate love, whereby the ruby ray in your very own heart does consume hour by hour and day by day, because the word has been spoken in the physical octave. And because that word does register on the physical octave in your physical temples, you are sustained, upheld, infilled with fiery light, and know in actuality the company of cosmic Christs. Therefore, when you feel the freedom of light that is around you because you are among the legions of the Great White Brotherhood, do not misinterpret this freedom to be the freedom to do anything that catches your fancy, to pursue any pursuit, to go here and there in the name of keeping the flame. For it is important that we hover close to home and recognize that day by day the fallen ones yet mount their media attacks against this person and this activity, and there is an upholding of the flame that beyond all other considerations must be taken into the hearts of the members of this activity. You must realize that this is no ordinary activity, but it is the dispensation of the Great White Brotherhood, and any and all changes that have occurred and shall occur will occur through this effort and this momentum. For we cannot have a fire here and there and elsewhere on the planet. We must have certain conditions met before we can even intercede in a community or an organization. And one of those conditions is the active use of the violet flame, and another is allegiance to the mighty I Am Presence and Saint Germain, and another is a living, breathing, vital messenger to convey our immediate cycles and dispensations. Thus, beloved hearts, though some communities may meet one of the requirements, there are none others that meet all of these requirements. And thus it would be well for those who are in those other activities to realize that this is not an age for separation and separateness. And as you seek dispensations from God in whatever name you pronounce to be His, these dispensations are limited to your own confinement and the boundaries of organizational karma, which you must learn to understand does exist and is conditioned by the scope of the purpose of the organization and its members. And each individual member increases that karma. And you see, if there is no balancing by violet flame, increase in numbers can only increase the weight, and therefore the unwieldiness, for instance, of the Roman Catholic Church renders it not an instrument of the ongoing delivery of the word by the Great White Brotherhood. For there is no discrimination. There is is no setting aside of those life streams who have disobeyed the laws of God, but the church has become a canopy for all manner of evolutions and treachery and intrigue within the highest levels of the Vatican itself. And therefore, how can we deliver the mandate of an age? I can assure you, if it were possible, we would have already done so, for we are God-loving, people-loving masters, and we are the members of the Karmic Board, and our hearts could weep if we would allow ourselves for the poor plight of many of the faithful who are kept in ignorance by the secreting of the true teachings of the living Christ from these people. Therefore, it is a contrived ignorance and a contrived suppression of the light of the people. How can we release a light unto a people who know not the salvation of the threefold flame? I tell you, one heart integrated with the individual Christ self, with the Lord Jesus Christ and Saint Germain and the cosmic Christ, affords us an opening unto planet Earth that could not be duplicated by a million individuals held in darkest ignorance concerning these spiritual things. Why, once you accept your own potential and divinity, we may place our electronic presence over you and use you to deliver to the world, even while you sleep, streams and rivers of light, as it is prophesied, pouring forth from the belly, rivers of light through those who serve the living word and are his disciples. These rivers of light that flow through you in a flame of peace while you sleep are for the nourishing and the sustainment of many millions of souls. Thus, beloved hearts, I commend you to a perfect peace, to a higher calling, to the assurance that your voice is heard, that the sincerity of your hearts never goes unnoticed. We are very much a part of this community, and you may ask the messenger, if you will, just how close we are, for her communion with us is like face to face, as you would behold one another, and the reality of our presence is so great as to enable her to see beyond the persecution into the new age and all that is to come. And our delivery of that vision and of that divine direction is specifically for you and for the many life streams whom you represent personally as you hold the balance wherever you are upon earth. I request then that you consider your place holding the balance in the inner retreat or in the state of Montana, that you consider your livelihood and whether or not you are able to take it up and pursue it and raise your families nearer to that inner retreat to hold the balance there. For many are needed in terms of light bearers and dynamic decreers to hold the balance against those fallen ones who have also gathered to focus the anti-light. Thus it is important that you consider the future of your household and of your families and the economy thereof in the coming decade. For when you are called upon, I trust you will be ready and you will give answer, and you will appreciate that our divine plan has never been lost, delayed, or set aside in terms of the ongoingness of this movement. We are on schedule despite seeming setbacks, for those setbacks, though born, never were allowed by us or the messenger to interfere with what was to take place or is to take place. And therefore the goal of the ascension for each and every one of you and light bearers who have yet to hear of this activity is secure in our hearts and ongoing, and the assignments we give you and the karma you face and the testings of your soul are all a part of the cosmic timetable. Therefore pray not for ease, pray not for relief, but pray for more light and more violet flame to consume whatever is come upon your house, upon your soul, upon your body. For if you do not let down your guard, if you do accelerate in the way you have been taught, you will plow right through a straight furrow through those lines of force, and you will arrive at the harvest of the golden wheat of your own consciousness. Remember, the very hairs of your head are numbered, and therefore your life stream, so dedicated, has come into embodiment for the victory, and you can make the victory if you do not take certain byways, certain dead ends, for an enjoyment of another round of personal development to the exclusion of the service to life. Now you must realize that in the service of your gurus, the ascended masters, in the service of the messenger, your personal development will not atrophy, it will accelerate. Always when you are in your right place, when you are joyous, when you are obedient, when you are responsive to moving forward, and do not hide in a comfortable niche and refuse to make progress. When you are humble of heart and pure, when you are ongoing and willing, believe me, you are making progress, and all things are in divine order. Therefore, let us consider then what is upon us and what we must be doing. It is the wider and larger concern of finding the light bearers of every nation, of securing the inner retreat, of publishing and preaching the word, and of you, beloved, mastering yourself by your great God consciousness. If in the process of this overcoming you may also serve the world, so be it, and you may acquire the credentials of the world, so be it. But do not let the balance of your desire to attain something in this world offset the true balance of your threefold flame in your service to the brotherhood. You must grasp the reality of our presence, the reality of your inner life and inner path. I commend you to a number of days of fasting after this conference is concluded, merely for the unclogging of the spiritual body, so that you might have a closer experience of walking and talking with your friends of light and remembering and seeing the inner retreat. Thereby you will have co-measurement of the inner and the outer man, for there are two goals of life. There is the goal of the outer man and the conclusion of the ripening and the maturity, the service, the dedication, and the adeptship in some sacred labor. And there is the inner man, who should not have to make sacrifices for the outer man, for the reverse ought to be the case. For the inner man, the soul rising, is on an inner path, on etheric highways, and all things that come to pass in the outer are intended to be and are in reality unto the faithful a reflection of that inner acceleration. Let those of you who have not yet so synthesized the outer and the inner path consider it for the duration of this conference. You may write letters to the karmic board, which ought to be burned on the 4th of July, and you may address your questions, your queries, your considerations of your life plan to us. And these letters will be burned, and we will take them into consideration and send to you by your own heart flame, your own Christ flame, the direct impression of our will and our recommendation and our vision for you. Then, of course, it is up to you to accept or not to accept, and then to do what you will do. For no one on earth and in heaven in this activity will ever interfere with your own private counsel with your Christ self, and your counsel with the Almighty. Therefore we bless you in the exercise of your free will, and we commend you as you strive in your acceleration. I am the goddess of liberty, because I have chosen to amplify within you that light which is the love of liberty. Liberty is a flame that pulsates with a number of ingredients. You see, there is no liberty unless you can extend liberty to life. And in order to do so, you must have wisdom, you must have love, you must have the will of God, which has become your power. When you think beyond the threefold flame and you realize how great a gift is the gift of liberty, that the gift of Christ giving you a threefold flame is the gift of the liberty flame, then you must realize that its many facets will include all of the 7 rays and the secret rays and the full canopy and panoply of the consciousness of God. Therefore, the gift of liberty is like the gift of a miniature replica of your own causal body, for all that you are is your liberty. All that you are is the liberty manifestation of your God flame. Every creative expression is your liberty. Every song you sing, every word you speak, done so voluntarily, is your liberty in expression. Whatever you choose to emphasize, how you choose to spend your day, whatever is come to you from God and you have made your own, this is your expression of liberty. And in my torch which I hold high, there is the matrix, the inner blueprint of the liberty flame for each and every one of the archetypal patterns of the 144,000 that form the inner blueprint for the life waves of earth. These patterns, 144,000 in number, provide the patterns, and only those souls who have these Christic patterns can endure beyond the matter universe. This is why it has been said that only that number shall be saved. The meaning is that those who have the inner blueprint impressed upon them of that Christic light. But this is a pattern that has been multiplied again and again, and therefore you see, only Almighty God and those to whom he has vouchsafed that number truly know how many can and shall ascend from this planetary body and other systems of worlds. Now, in the God victory of the living flame, I commend you to the study, the further study of the Middle East equation, which I desire the messenger to present to you, so that before the hour of midnight you will have a certain outer awareness and inner awareness that will give you the conclusive vibration and assertion within you that you are able and willing and understanding of the burden that you would choose to bear when you would take on this burden of the laggards and of planetary karma with the messengers. I would like to tell you, beloved hearts, that this dispensation comes to the messenger as a gift from our hearts, yours and ours, and not to her outer awareness until just prior to the giving of this dictation. For we did not desire to make it known to her, lest the dispensation might not be given. I must tell you concerning the bearing of this burden, that when she came to Washington as a Chela of El Moria in 1961 and was received in training as a messenger under Mark, she was given the vision at inner levels that if she did not swiftly take upon her a measure of the burden of world karma that he bore, that his bearing of that burden would accelerate his transition. Therefore, immediately she volunteered and was given the first increment of planetary karma. And I well remember, for it was through my hand that it came, and it was on a street in Georgetown, where the messenger to be was present with Mark. And when that weight descended, there was a groaning of the soul. There was a physical weight as the entire body and force field prepared itself and stretched itself to receive it. And in outer consciousness, physically, she remarked to her own twin flame, "What is this which is come upon me?" And he answered, "It is the first increment of world karma that you must bear as a co-messenger." And so that weight has never left, but has increased year upon year, until with the ascension of the messenger, the full weight then was borne by the one left. With all of the experience and all that has come to pass in the balancing of her own karma, and of bearing the karma of the students, I can testify to you before the lords of karma and this company that never on any occasion has she ever applied at inner or outer levels to be delivered of this weight. And therefore, God has blessed and God has acknowledged the faithfulness of the mother and gives to her a lightening of the load in your name that she might serve more. For there is no other desire in her heart but to be free to give you more and more and more. And I would also tell you, as I have heard, the burden and the tears of her heart, as she has desired to spend more hours of loving interaction and friendship with many of you and the keepers of the flame around the world, that on many, many occasions she has had to withdraw to bear the planetary burden and therefore renounce even the smallest joy of playing with you in the playground of life. You must understand the commitment of the mother of the ages and realize that above and beyond all other considerations of burden and effects it has had upon her outer being, this one flame of constancy is the reason why this activity and this planetary body yet have renewed opportunity. I tell you this not according to her will, but because she freely gives me herself as instrument. Will you understand then that by seeing this and knowing this history of the past 21 years of her service, you might realize that to bear a small burden of this and to know a perpetual weight that is not removed ever permanently is also to provide the hierarchy, the chelas, the activity, and the messenger a greater leap, a greater expansion, whereby the mother may interact with greater numbers of chelas and be free to take upon herself chelas of the light bearers, some who have just a little bit too much karma to enter in. Now this can be borne by the messenger as you assist in the bearing of laggard and world karma, and thus many light bearers who have been waiting for this opportunity may now enter the path for which their souls have longed and for which they have been prepared at inner levels. The activity is so scientific, beloved hearts, that you may see that every point of expansion and every new soul of light that enters these gates comes escorted by angel ministrants and legions, for they are chosen, though they think they have chosen the path. I trust that you will understand from this dictation a little more of the inner workings of the saving of a planet and its evolutions, and of the part of those responsible ones who are able to take up the torch in every age. Truly this is a day of victory and rejoicing, and of utmost rejoicing in the mother's heart, not to be relieved of a burden, but to be able to take upon herself another. May it also be a cause of rejoicing for you, as you see renewed strength and involvement. So may it be. So may you all know a greater and larger purpose, because you, beloved chelas of El Moria, because you, beloved El Moria, have striven, have borne, have taught, have been patient, because you, chelas, have overcome and sensed what level of inner and outer dedication was needed to have this momentous victory. I commend you to your own mighty I Am presence, who smiles upon you the smile of love, from the little children to the babes in arm, to the high school students, to the students of Summit University, and those who are now in the final years of this life. I say, receive the love of your presence, for truly the blessed are among you, and the blessed shall inherit the earth.
as the saints below, the saints above. I seal you, I stand with you. I am the goddess of liberty, and my book of the law and my torch are ever yours for the teaching of the world's children. In the name of the Lord Gautama Buddha, I serve.